Welcome, World History students, to a screencasted lesson for today. I'm going to be going over instructions for how to complete today's assignments, as I will be absent for part of the day. So what we're going to do is we're going to first check the class calendar to see what's going on today in class, and also look ahead to what's coming up this week. Click on today's date, which is the 30th. You'll see that we're going to look at lesson number 2, analyzing historical documents. We've been in this lesson for a couple of days. In class, we're going to do step 5 on the Declaration of Rights of Man and Citizen. And potentially, if you have time, you're going to do step 6, which is a review of the documents as they move through history, the evolution of democratic government documents. Your homework is to finish any incomplete steps, that's 1 through 6 from lesson number 2, and be ready to submit next class meeting. And next class meeting will be a review day, but let's go ahead and look at the calendar. Oops, nothing. There we go. On your next class meeting, we're going to be reviewing for the historical documents quiz, and then the meeting after that, we're going to be taking the actual assessment. It's not a test length assessment, but it'll be about 25 to 30 questions, so we'll call it a quiz. But if you consider that a test, and it's better to think of it that way, then you can think of it as a test. Okay, let's go and click on class content to the far left, and we're going to scroll down to Unit 1, Age of Revolution. We've already done Lesson 1, so we're going to go ahead and start in Lesson number 2. And let's remember our cartoon, our political cartoon that we've already analyzed, but we start at the bottom with tyranny and the divine right of kings, where the power of monarchs is unlimited and unchecked, except perhaps maybe by the church and God. Up from tyranny, we have the Magna Carta in 1215. Then we progress to the English Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Independence, the Declaration of Rights of Man and Citizen, which we'll be discussing today, and lastly, the U.S. Bill of Rights. So let's go ahead and go to step 4 first. I'm not sure if everybody has completed step 4, so I thought I would really quickly just tell you what I want you to be doing for step 4 in case this is something you need to wrap up. There is a video. You can watch the embedded video by clicking play here, and there are some questions, 4 questions that you need to answer before moving on to step 5. So what I want you to do is to just highlight these questions below the video, copy and paste them using Control-C. That will copy, and then paste them into your Google Doc using Control-V, and then answer the questions as best you can based on what you learned from the video. Also, I'd like you to copy and paste these 3 main principles that come out of the Declaration of Independence. Those will be helpful study points that you'll want to remind yourself of. So also copy and paste those into your Google Doc under step 4. Okay, on to step 5. Let's go ahead and click on your left menu. Okay, step 5 is about the Declaration of Rights of Man and Citizen. And it comes out of the French Revolution. I'm just going to really briefly read the introductory material. Representatives of the French people, organized as a national assembly, believed that all the bad things going on in the lives of the French people and the French government were the result of civil liberties being violated. To solve these issues, they created a public declaration now known as the Declaration of the Rights of Man and Citizen. The document, inspired by the American Declaration of Independence, is primarily composed of a list of responsibilities that the French people and government should be expected to follow. So very clearly on, we see that it's not a plan of government, rather it's a statement of principles or a list of expectations that the citizens and the government should follow if they wanted to have a free and equal society. History shows that the human rights of some citizens, notably peasants and the working class, have not always been acknowledged in society. Following the French Revolution in 1789, the newly established National Assembly of France, as representatives of the French people, determined that the rights of man and citizen. The declaration was to serve as a reminder to society and the governing bodies that everyone had equal rights and that their duty was to serve all citizens, not just the social elites. This activity, step 5, introduces the Declaration of the Rights of Man and Citizen. Students are asked to consider the effect this declaration might have had on the society described above. So let's look at the tasks. So you've got 2 tasks. Task 1, you're just going to be reading a handout using Adobe Reader and using the highlighting tool in Adobe to identify key aspects of life in 18th century France. Task 2, you're going to be doing something with those highlighted aspects of life. Okay, so let's start with task 1 and go ahead and open up the handout France before the Revolution of 1789. This is going to open up as an HTML file. What you want to do is you want to right click and save as, and you're just going to save this to your directory. And what you want to do is you want to close the HTML link or the internet link, and you want to search your File Explorer and pull that up as a PDF. Now you're going to have the option to edit the PDF, and you're going to come up here and grab the highlighter tool, and you're going to highlight things that you find to be key aspects of life before the Revolution that indicate that not everyone was equal, or that not everyone was guaranteed or given their natural rights to life, liberty, and property. We can start with society was divided into layers. That clearly states that not all people are equal, that some people have more power than others. For example, the king was very much influenced by the wealthy nobility. Okay, we've got the clergy, the bourgeoisie, that's how you say that word. The bourgeoisie are the middle class people of wealth. And then the bottom are the peasants. Okay, so what I want you to do is I want you to highlight a handful of things that talk about the lack of natural rights or human rights for certain groups during the pre-revolution period in France. Okay, so we're going to minimize this real quick. Let's just imagine that you've read the whole thing. You've done your highlighting. Now you want to come down to task 2. Okay, and open that up. In task 2, you're going to see that you've got an excerpt or extract from the Declaration of Rights of Man and Citizen. Okay, you've got some of the articles listed. Okay, you notice it's not everyone. We go 1, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 13, 14, 15, 17. So some of the key articles from the Declaration of Rights of Man and Citizen. It's really a list of responsibilities. What I want you to do is, let's go back. I want you to decide which of the abuses of human rights that you identified in Task 1 were addressed by the Declaration. Write the particular article below each example of abuse you have identified. So in your Google Doc, you'll start with, for example, society was divided into layers, this first sentence. So in your Google Doc, you'll either copy and paste or write that out. Society was divided into layers. And then you want to look at the second handout and decide which of the chapters or which of the articles addresses that to try to correct that lack of equality or lack of human rights. Okay, so we come up here and we read the first article. Men are born and remain free and equal in rights. Social distinctions may be founded only upon the general good. Okay, so I would say that that tries to correct the idea that society consists of layers. So in your Google Doc, you would write chapter 1 under that section where society is divided into layers. Okay, because Article 1 tries to correct that lack of equality or lack of human rights. Okay, so that's the example I give in Blackboard. Part B asks the question, how do you think each of the main groups, king, nobility, clergy, middle class, and peasants of people in France in 1799 would have reacted to the Declaration? Remember, people at the top of the pyramid of power are losing significant power and privileges with this Declaration of Rights of Man and Citizen. So how would they feel versus people at the bottom who gain significant rights and privileges as a result of the document? So try to address each section of society or each segment of society and maybe write a sentence about how they might feel about the passage of the document. And lastly, we're going to look at question C. Remember, you're answering all of these parts in your Google Doc. Which of these rights would you expect to have today in the U.S. and which rights are no longer relevant? List those you consider irrelevant and discuss them as a class. That's something that we'll get to next class period when I'm back in class. Okay? Please refer back to the video, this screencasted instruction manual, or ask the substitute if you need additional help, or ask a table mate if you need additional help. So I'll see you next class. We'll be reviewing, and then the following meeting we'll have a quiz over historical documents. Thanks.